Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a 3-game slate for the NBA on DraftKings and FanDuel. It is an interesting little slate. We do have some injuries to take a look at. My game picks are Milwaukee over Chicago, Minnesota over Washington, and Phoenix over the Clippers. For the injury report, we have the Bucks with Giannis is probable, Portis is out, and Connaughton is out. For the Bulls, DeRozan and Caruso are doubtful, Dragic is questionable, and Javonte Green is out. For the Timberwolves, Gobert and Anderson are questionable and Towns is out. For the Clippers, Powell is out. For the Suns, Durant, Payne, and Shamet are out. Not a whole lot that we have to wait on other than the Timberwolves and the Bulls, but it's still going to be a little bit of a mess there, potentially. But anyway, so here's my picks for DraftKings first. Let's get this right here. We're going to start with Drew Holiday, who just seems a little bit underpriced for what he's been doing lately. Not only that, but he's going to be going up against the Bulls. They're a little bit short-handed, and he's played really well lately. And Connaughton is also out, which gives him a little bit of a boost in usage, most likely. So I really think he's a good play today. He's been playing really good all as of late. Rudy Gobert, if he does play, he will be somebody that I'll be probably trying to roster at his price. He's just too cheap for his potential. Obviously, he does have a little bit of a low floor this year. But with Conley in the mix, he might get a little bit more comfortable and play more like he did last game with Conley. The last 2 games, in fact, he had Conley, and he's played a little bit better than he had been playing, and his price has come down because of that game against Denver. So I look for him to have a good game here. His minutes are going to go up a little bit probably with Conley in the mix, so and if he's playing well, so we'll have to wait and see, but I have good looks for him. We'll have to wait and see on his injury, obviously. Chris Middleton looks really interesting today. A little bit too cheap as well for his potential here. He's seems like he's getting himself going. He's still not playing a full complement of minutes. He's playing about 25 minutes last 2 games, but he's breaking over 30 fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games now, and he's definitely got some nice upside at this price, especially when he can continue to play more minutes. He's been shooting the ball pretty well as well, and he's been getting rebounds and assists that we need him to get in order to really pay off for fantasy. He's been playing really solid, so I really think he's a good play on the slate. Mike Conley, also very interesting here. Now that he's going to be in a starting role for Minnesota, and he's going to be a consistent player in that role. I look for him to be a great option with the Timberwolves, especially with the ball handling duties being his role here. No other role point guards on the to really worry about too much for his to share with. So his assist numbers should probably rise a little bit with the Minnesota, and especially with Gobert, where he's used to playing with him. I look for him to have bigger games than he even had in Utah. But he has some really good upside, and his price is still pretty fair. I think his price will probably rise after a few games there in Minnesota. He's also got a nice matchup against the Wizards. Then we're going to look at Daniel Gafford, who is, you're just going to have to ignore the last game where he got in foul trouble early on against Portland and didn't really do anything the entire game because he only played about 15 minutes to those fouls. But overall, he's been really consistent since the middle of January, almost a month now. He's been in the 23 to 29 fantasy points per game range. He's had a couple outliers, but for the most part, he's been playing really well. I look for him to continue to do that and potentially get a double-double here. If he can get a double-double, he'll pay off even more, but he's just been playing well, getting blocks, rebounds, and scoring a decent amount of points. I don't love him, but I think he's a fair play on this small slate. Then we're going to look at Bones Highland for the Clippers, rather. He is now back with the Clippers. He's played 1 game. He played 16 minutes, and he had a pretty good game despite the fact he had 5 fouls. He ended up scoring 16 fantasy points. I think he'll probably play more minutes as he gets going, and at least until maybe Westbrook signs with him or something, but I expect him to play a little bit more minutes than that most games. He is a little bit of a risky punt play, but his price is cheap enough that if you want to pay up for Giannis or something, you could definitely utilize him as a safe option. Not super safe, but has some safety. He plays really hard, and his price is way down. So as you know, he was in the mid 5,000 price range with the Nuggets. And then finally, last but not least, will be Tyrese Prince for Minnesota. He has played pretty solid since all the trade stuff happened. In the last couple games, he's been over 18 fantasy points, and he only needs 16 fantasy points to 5x. Now, obviously, he does have a low floor, but he's actually been playing pretty solid and consistent, getting at least 10 fantasy points most games. And he doesn't need much here, so he's a good punt play if you need another punt play to pay up for somebody else. He's the guy to definitely take a look at. Overall, I think DraftKings is a lot better than FanDuel today. The pricing on FanDuel is a lot worse. There's not really much value here. But we're going to start with Giannis, who I look for him to play. He should have some good upside. He's been absolutely dominating for the most part, most games. Getting close to triple doubles a lot of times as well. Obviously, if he can get a triple double, he'll pay off. But his price is pretty ridiculous today, needing 62.5 points to 5x. But he's been over that point and 4 of the last 6 games. So I look for him to continue his onslaught, especially in a nice matchup against Chicago. Then we got Drew Holiday, who is obviously priced a lot higher here on FanDuel than DraftKings, but he still has nice upside. He's been playing pretty well, but his floor is lower here on FanDuel than DraftKings as well. Then we're looking at Kyle Kuzma. He's a little bit cheaper here on FanDuel, actually, and he's been playing. His last game was his first game back from 5-game absence, so I look for him to play well in this one and continue on the roll that he is. He's got a nice plus matchup here as well. Rudy Gobert, also very interesting today if he does play, which I think he probably will, but he's a lot more expensive here on FanDuel than DraftKings, but I still think he's a good option here with Conley playing, and he looks like he's going to have more fun with him. Then we're going to look at Mike Conley, obviously. He's got some nice upside on this slate. He's also more expensive by quite a bit as well, just like Gobert, but he has some good upside, and he should have some good games here with Minnesota, with Gobert playing especially. And then finally, Chris Middleton for the Bucks here. His price is a little bit higher than DraftKings, but he's been playing above that the last few games, and as long as he continues to play around 24-25 minutes, he has some decent upside here. Obviously, he has big game potential, and his minutes are going to slowly climb up until he gets back to full complement, but he's been playing pretty well as of late, so I look for him to continue that. With that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments, questions, feel free to leave them below. Make sure to check out the Discord. I'm sure I need that right now. You can see there, and we have NBA news that it gets up to date. You can see Westbrook is beginning his conversation with the Clippers. So make sure to come check out the Discord. We got some cool people in there. Obviously, it's going to be more busy in there once baseball season starts because there'll be multiple sports going. But yeah, feel free to join it and check it out. We got lineup discussion, NBA discussion, price pick stuff, and other things. So come check it out and have a nice day, guys.